Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I received a comment the other day and I wanted to do a little bit of a clarification. Somebody was asking a question about, well, what did I mean by when I said that when we try to defend ourselves, that it tends to blow up in our faces? And I think one of the things that is common with this is the narcissistic ex is able to, because they're controlling the game, they're able to be really calm. They're really able to be relaxed, appear to be completely unharmed by all this. They seemed in control of their emotions, and they are because they're basically pushing your buttons and they're watching you respond. So they're feeling pretty good about everything that's going on. In our situation, we are completely flabbergasted by what's going on. We're dismayed when we look at the ex and see them acting like everything's fine, when we know that they're pushing our buttons and that they're manipulating everybody they possibly can to portray this story that we're unhinged. The reality of this, or what really happens in this situation, is you get more and more anxious when this happens. I know I surely did. And when that happens, you start looking more and more unhinged. So it's really counterintuitive, because you think, or you would think, that defending yourself is something you absolutely have to do. If they're lying about you, or they're throwing out stories, you want to go in and you want to go point by point and talk to people about what's happening. The problem with this is that when you do that, because it seems so outlandish, you have the antagonistic, narcissistic person who's sitting there going, well, I mean, I could take it in my situation. I mean, the comment would be, well, Duane is he gets really emotional and he gets angry about everything. And I mean, he just won't let it go. You can come up with a bunch of different scenarios or a bunch of different words to describe the state I would be in. Now imagine I walk into somebody and I start telling them how crazy my ex is, all the crap that she's doing. When you do that, you don't do it in a calm manner. You don't come up like I'm talking to you right now and say, man, I'm really dealing with a really weird environment. My ex is doing some really bizarre things. You don't talk like the way I'm talking right now. You're like, oh my God, you look disheveled. You're talking fast. Your hand motions are going faster. And when you're doing that, anyone else is looking at you is going, holy crap, what the hell's wrong with this person? That's why I say whenever you try to defend yourself on these, you look unhinged. The same thing happens whenever you're doing a form of communication where you're emailing them and you're point by point going through why they're wrong or why it's their fault or whatever. You have to be really, really careful about how you engage with people, how you engage with your ex, and you really need a disconnect from yourself on what you're doing so you can look at it objectively. Another person sent a comment saying that they actually have a relative that's their go-between. All the communication is filtered, and this is amazing. I mean, I wish all of us had this, but this relative of theirs filters everything that they get. So if the ex sees something, it goes to this other person. They filter it, like I talk about in hybrid no contact, but you have another person doing it who erases everything else that's in that document or in that communication, and then just culls it down to, hey, your ex is asking if you're going to be able to take the kids to their doctor's appointment. Simple, straight to the point, like I was talking about the other day. That's awesome. I wish all of us had that. I mean, hell, I wish we had a service that would do that. Wouldn't that be great if you had a service that could, would filter the email or filter the communication, get rid of all the crap, and just basically cull it down to what the thing is. Either it's like, the kids' doctor's appointments are on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Boom. And all that other stuff is out of there. The thing is you have to really be careful to roll this back. Not a lot of us have that, an advocate for us that will sit there and filter everything. We'll filter what the ex is saying and then listen to our comments back. And if it's unhinged or sounds unhinged, basically say, no, that's not what you're going to say. You need to cull it down. Most of us have to do that on our own. It's really important that you take your time to do your communications and you really think about what you tell people. I get it that you have to get it off your chest. I absolutely understand it. I know that I spent way too much time, probably a couple of years, doing that, basically talking over and over and over again. I know I've talked about it in like the podcast I did with my friend Mike, but my core group of friends, which consisted of a handful of people, maybe 4 or 5, three that were local, the other 2 were high school friends that I talked to on the phone. I would have conversations with them over and over and over again about the same damn thing, about what happened, reliving the same trauma over and over again. Find your core people, 1 or 2, that you can do that with, that you can vent with, and do not do that with anyone else. Do not run into random people that you haven't seen at the grocery store and proceed to tell them your entire life story on how crazy this is. Keep it simple. If someone says, oh, hey, how is Julie? If Julie was my ex, and I'd say, oh, I'm not sure. We're not together anymore. Didn't work out. I'm not sure. Just so you could put it out there, but you don't want to go down this laundry list of what happened. And even if they ask, if they go, man, Duane, what happened? You just say, it just didn't work out. We're whatever. Leave it simple, because if you can do it that way, it makes you come across that you are more stable on this. Now, I'm saying this, and I can tell you guys that when I was going through this, I didn't do this. I was talking about this to everyone who would listen. There was a couple of people who would say, you know what, I really don't want to hear that. And that was kind of a shock, and the other people would be like, oh my God, really? They would sit there and listen. It doesn't help you. One, you don't know who you can truly trust. You don't know if that person is going to go back and tell your ex. And you don't know what kind of damage is going to cause you in that current environment or with that relationship. Maybe if it's just friends, that's one thing. But if it's a work situation, that could get people to start talking about how you're not really there and present at work. And it could start this is going to affect your work performance, but it could start affecting your reputation at work on how you're able to do it. You don't want to add any extra drama into your life. That's what I'm talking about when I say be really careful about your communication and how our communications can hurt us. I know I've used 2 different scenarios with this. I've talked a little bit about dealing with external people, and I've also mentioned dealing with your ex. They both are intertwined. They're a little bit different, but the main thing is, don't dive into the chaos with your ex. That's the first thing. And one thing I just want to add on to that before I move on to the next one again is it's really tough when we know what's behind the mask. When we know it's a facade. When we see them out in public, or we see them at a function and they're all smiles and they're all acting like everything's fine, and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't the way it is. This isn't fine. You won't work with me on anything. This is a facade, right? And it gets you angry, and it gets you to want to expose it. Again, like I said, when they are acting all calm and reasonable, or the appearance of that, and you are doing the complete opposite, then people are going to start thinking that you're the problem. You could almost look at it that if you were able to do the exact same thing and act calm and reasonable, and they're acting calm and reasonable, and then you can use some type of incident or some type of behavior or something that happens to really drive the point home. Then you could say to someone, I'm really trying hard, but I was trying to see if I could get the kids to bring them over to little Janie's birthday party, but the ex won't do it. Well, what do you mean? Why won't she? Well, she won't do it. I asked, and she said no. Here's the email, right? Then you can kind of expose it that way. But you have to really be careful on how you do that. And I know I was using examples with children, but it doesn't matter. If you have an ex and you have no kids and it falls apart and you're dealing with a smear campaign and you're dealing with a silent treatment and you're dealing with all that stuff, our inclination is still to go around and tell people and try to defend ourselves. You're really better served if you can put off the appearance that it's not, I want to say it's almost like it's not that big of a deal. I know that's rough, but I think that helps counteract a lot of those smear campaigns and a lot of that garbage that's happening. Our actions, the way we act, the way we progress is critical on this. And it's super important that all of us take a pause, back up a little bit, and look at our situation and look at how we're responding to it and how it would be perceived. I get that we understand it. I get that today, if someone came up experiencing the exact same thing and said it to us, we would get it. We would absolutely be like, you know what? I know exactly what you're dealing with. Most people aren't like that, and you don't want to overshare information because you really don't know. You find somebody who can pull you aside and say, hey, was your ex a narcissist? Do they have these tendencies? Oh yeah, exactly. And then you can kind of share lingo and kind of get that bond on that. Don't do it to yourself. Take a pause. Really look at your situation. Look at what's going on. Look at how people are perceiving it. Try to look externally at your situation from a little bit, come a couple of steps back to see how you would think other people are perceiving it. If you can do that, then you can really increase your credibility with people, and then you can start slowly share little incidents to demonstrate what you're dealing with. And if you can put off the persona that it's really unfortunate, but you're dealing with it the best you can and you're trying to make your best of it, it'll go a long way. Fake it if you have to. I know it's really hard. I know all what I'm talking about is not something that's going to be intuitive for someone to do, but hopefully if we can talk about this and look at it, you might be able to take a step back and go, okay, I think I see what he's saying, and I think I can see how I can implement some of this into my situation to help me.